How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to the next edition of Box Talk. I'm Ryan, this is Ade. Today, another great subject to discuss. We're going to look at protected fighters. You know, we see them every week on TV. They've got a world title, and they ain't fought a top 10 contender. What's the problem, Ade?
Promoters are scared. They're scared. What I think people got to understand is that promoters, as much as boxers are about winning titles, promoters are about making money. If their fighter can arguably fight no one and get money for the promoter's pocket, the promoter's happy.
Okay, then. I understand promoters protecting their fighters.
Yeah.
But then, why would the sanctioning body give someone a world ranking without fighting anyone in the top 10? I could mention numerous boxers from past to present that do not deserve their standing right now. I mean, if we look back this week and gone, we had Nathan Kirby versus Sergey Kovalev.
Yep.
Yeah.
The monster.
Yeah.
From Eastern Europe.
I'm going to be a criticism of Frank Warren. I'm trying to say, be fair. He's been around for a long time. Knows how to develop athletes, develop fighters. Done a lot of good things, but I think he's also done a lot of bad things. And bad things is in protecting his fighters too much. And since Cleverly's had this title, 2.5 years, 3 years,
yep.
I've been a huge critic of Cleverly, saying that he's got a world title, he's got a world ranking, but he's never fought no one ranked university in the top 10.
I think what you've got to understand though, I think you mentioned it just now. In fact, you mentioned it about a minute ago when you said, why are sanctioning bodies giving these guys?
Yeah.
But you've got to understand, sanctioning bodies are thieves. All they care about is their sanctioning fees. As long as you pay the fees and you pay good fees, WBA, WBC will always have you high in their ranks because they know you're bringing the money and that's all they care about.
Okay, think about this. Okay, let's go back a quick history on sanctioning bodies. Okay, if you've got a world title or interim title of one division, they're not going to rank you in other sanctioning bodies.
Yeah.
So that automatically eliminates the top 4 to 8 fighters from each from each sanctioning body's ratings.
Yeah.
So the ratings of the people in those sanctioning bodies are mediocre. So you might be the WBC champion, but the people in the top 10 are not the guys you would call marquee names or people you would recognise in the sport.
Yeah.
You need to go to universal rankings, i.e. Ring TV, BoxRec, and what's the new one? The new sanctioning body, what they got, that independent one?
Yeah, they got like some sort of fighters independent owned sanctioning body.
Not saying they're the best, but they're fair where you got all the marquee names in the rankings. Cleverly, look at the rankings of any of those sanctioning bodies and Cleverly ain't fought no one. And then Saturday he steps up.
What is it?
He stepped up Saturday. What happened Saturday?
You got to understand. Yeah, this is it though. I mean, he stepped up. That's the thing. So that was his fight, and everyone talks about levels, and that was his level to step up in and go, and he lost.
As an athlete and a fighter that's been a champion for 2.5 years, 3 years, been a pro for maybe 5 or 6 years, got all this so-called world-class wealth of talent. He done really bad. I don't want to criticise the guy, kick him out when he's down, but that's because he wasn't developed correctly and had too many easy fights. He stood and traded with a noted puncher who's been knocking guys out from the amateur system till now.
But we've seen it with a lot of guys. Ricky Hatton stood and traded with Pacquiao. Ricky Hatton was, a world champion for the past 4 years before he fought Pacquiao. He thought he could stand and trade against a guy that we know bangs, knew banged, and we saw what happened. All I feel like with protected fighters is, I genuinely believe it's not the fighter's fault. Promoters control who the fighters fight. Yeah. Any fighter at the end of the fight can call any fighter out. Promoter knows what he's doing. Promoter's probably seen him spar. Promoter's probably seen him train. Yeah. We hear so many times about... Yeah, exactly. We hear so many times about guys getting knocked out in sparring and we just do not know about it. Dawson supposedly got knocked out in sparring before Edson Miranda before the thingy fight, the Andre Ward fight. Yeah. The Andre Ward fight. Who knew about that? And then you saw his performance against Andre Ward. You kind of think that kind of makes sense now. I think promoters try and protect their fighters and earn as much money from as possible. Yes, they might, go and say, "Oh, this is the best fighter in the world," but deep down, they know, and they're trying to earn money from it.
I just want to touch on you said about Ricky Hatton. At least Ricky Hatton was in the ring with noted punches previously for the Pacquiao, and his chin has held up. I mean, he got outclassed by Mayweather and stopped by Mayweather by headbutting the turnbuckle, which was a combination of his knockout. But
that's cheeky.
It's not cheeky, it's the truth. He ran right to the turnbuckle. I like Ricky Hatton, I'm a fan of Ricky Hatton, but Ricky Hatton fought a lot of good fighters, developed himself up to those times where he felt confident to do that. Cleverly could not. I mean, you're talking about Stevenson and other people having, and Chad Dawson having titles and certain people having their fights. If you're a world champion and you've got a world title, I don't see no reason why you shouldn't fight any of the contenders out there, because if you're the best in the world and you claim to be the best, your promoter claims to be the best, your TV company claims to be the best, your trainer claims to be the best, fight the best.
No, but look, right, you've got to look at it in two different things. As you just said as well, being a world champion means, in boxing nowadays, where about 20 world titles you can win, not much. We saw with Andre Berto. Andre Berto got the WBC belt for fighting absolutely nobody. He first stepped up against Luis Galazzo, and I think he lost.
Yeah, same here.
He got beat. Even had trouble with Steve Forbes. Not a shame thing, but the way they're talking about Andre Berto, he should have breezed through Steve Forbes.
And let's be fair, Steve Forbes is a very, very, very
Steve
small
Forbes
guy.
can make 130 easily, comfortably.
Yeah,
Andre Berto is massive. Andre Berto can make 154 now if he really wants to. Andre Berto now has stepped up. So it's not just an English thing. Andre Berto has now stepped up. And I think we've all seen what's happened to Andre Berto since.
It's funny talking about Andre Berto because I remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were talking about Andre Berto, like this new guy up and coming, the future, the speed, the power, the swagger. You're like, yeah, this guy's got it all. And we said, we can't wait till he steps up. And we were talking at the time about Sintron.
Yeah, the 147 range was really fantastic.
Really fit. I remember, I can't remember exactly, I think just before he really went down.
Was like Mosley.
Not Mosley, the guy I'm talking about now. The guy got knocked out by Carlos Musa. Vivian Harris. We were saying Vivian Harris was a good step up, a former world champion guy,
Thank God he did.
kind of coming down, and he was going up. Good crossover match. Never happened. But there's a reason why it didn't happen.
They know.
Berto, I love you, but you can't fight. I mean, it was disgusting what you were trying to do with the shoulder roll
Against Guerrero.
I mean, and the way the whole thing went down, you actually lost points by going down in the first round by ignorance. It's not your style. It has never been your style. But you never had the experience to actually fight good fighters to learn that.
What I don't like, what fighters always seem to do, they lose. It must be the trainer. Let's switch trainers. And I don't like it. Khan's done it. Obviously now Andre Berto's now gone to Virgil, and I can't see any difference in the way he's fighting. In fact, to me, arguably, it was worse.
You can see he's regressed.
He's regressed. He's definitely regressed. I mean, for Andre Berto, you must look at it and think that, where does he go from here? But there's other fighters. Who else is protected?
Oh, the list is unbelievable. We can even talk about our very own Kell Brook. I mean, again,
Let's talk about him.
Again, very talented fighter.
Ranked number 3.
Very skillful.
WBC.
Already had Manu title shot, which is obviously lost due to injury or multiple injuries on either side. But again, Kell Brook has not fought a universal top 10 contender ever. And if you look at the 147 division for the past 6-7 years, it has always been stacked with marquee fighters and good names.
I like Kell Brook a lot, and I think, unlike Cleverly, which I thought he was going to step up, unlike Cleverly, who didn't step up, I think Kell Brook's actually one of those people that could. But again, he fought Carson Jones, who, in American terms, is not ranked at all.
Yeah.
I think Carson Jones is outside the top 30 in America. And he struggled big time. Even in the rematch, that arguably got stopped a bit early for me. And I think Carson Jones was giving him problems before it got stopped again. Can he beat Devin Alexandra? I think so, but again, he's not fought anyone to prove that.
Potentially he can, but that's it. He's never been put into deep waters or put into a situation where he's learned about himself or learned about how he needs to do certain things in the ring. As a fighter, you need to have your identity and know your strengths and your weaknesses personally, in your own heart, in your own mind. Not someone else telling you what to do or how you can do it.
And I think that's it, though. I think that actually is the reason. I think as a fighter, you do know your own strengths and weaknesses, and more importantly, your promoters and managers know your strengths and weaknesses. So can you blame them for not matching these guys up with guys that they're going to lose to? At the end of the day, it's all about making money. These fighters making money by fighting bums and selling out 20,000, 30,000 arenas by fighting bums. It's still money. He's still got a world title.
Okay, but like I said, it's all about levels of understanding yourself. Good example was another big hyped American prospect, Mike Jones. Mike Jones, tremendous amateur experience. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. Huge welterweight. He's going to fight aging champion, former champion Randall Bailey. Yeah?
39-year-old.
Mike Jones dominates the fight. You all seen the fight. Dominates the fight, looks great in everything, and then gets put down tremendously. One of the punches there, I nearly jumped on my seat when I saw it. I was like, oh my God.
He did jump out of his seat.
I mean,
spring seat.
It was a tremendous shot. He got up and got put down really hard. I think it was an uppercut right hand.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just shows. Whereas you're comfortable, you're
Daniel Jacobs, another projected fighter when he fought
Dimitri Pirog.
He was supposed to breeze through Pirog. First step up.
Yeah, I mean that's why. When you see, he got an old pro like Bailey was, but just because he's old and he's not as good as he was, he knows what he's doing, and he set him up and timed him waited for 12 rounds to do that. Similar, not a set-up fight, but similar. You got an old pro with what George Foreman done to Michael Moorer.
Look at David Hay.
Yeah.
It was David Hay fight. His 9th fight. Cruiserweight. What was his name again?
Carl Thompson.
Carl Thompson.
Yeah, Carl Thompson.
Don't mess about the old pros.
Yeah. These old pros, I mean, they've been there for a long time, and these guys are waiting for their one shot. And they get the one shot because these young fighters are not developed enough to avoid the tricks, the traps, because they're fighting guys that they're always dominating. If you want to be A class, you can't always fight D and C class. You've got to start fighting the B class, you've got to start fighting the A class, and then you come to the 11 playing field.
But it's a scary thing. I think it's all about when do they step up. And I think that's the tricky thing. When do you step up? I mean, I think Andre Berto could be the future of boxing. Could be. We saw him.
Could have been.
No, I still think he will be, because I think that all the good guys are kind of aging through. You look at the Cotto, Pacquiao, Mayweather's all kind of now in their kind of mid-30s, all kind of aging. He stepped up really once. DeMarco wasn't really a step up. Prince de Leon, he stepped up, and again, tough decision. He stepped up against Malignaggi. Malignaggi ain't a puncher. Malignaggi's a boxer. He stepped up against what you'd consider an Asian pro. He didn't look very good, did he? No. He didn't look very good at all, did he? So it's all about when do you make these guys take that step to an A class or even a C class fighter. It's a tough one. They can all get 27-0 like Deontay Wilder. 28 knockouts, 28 fights, has fought nobody.
The best guy on his record is
Athos.
You could say Sergey Lakovic.
He's
a former world champion. Was a very good fighter.
5 years ago.
7 years ago.
For a title that no one really cared about. Yeah.
The White Wolf.
Yeah, and Audley Harrison.
Yeah.
The fact I've even just mentioned that he's got a name on his resume called Audley Harrison says a lot about where I think Deontay Wilder is right now. I'm not saying that he won't be a good fighter, but again, that's a protected fight because there are heavyweights out there to fight. Put him with Chris Arreola. Put him with someone that can, Seth Mitchell, Banks. Put him with someone.
See, what makes it more painful for someone like Deontay Wilder, where the division's not thick already, you only got a few names in the top that are actually marketable names. So you could say that he could conceivably beat most people within the latter half of the top 10.
You say that, but even like Tony Thompson did coming over here, there are English fighters he can fight that I feel will give him more of a problem. I don't think Price is a great fighter anymore, but I'd like to see him against a Price, against a Fury, against a Hay, against a Chisora, against a Malik Scott. Let him fight someone that we all know, and then let's see if he does put them to sleep like he's been doing everyone else.
I like Price. I thought Price was going well, but like I said, I didn't think he was getting the right fights before.
I think it's mentally in Price.
And I did say to Ade before that, at the time, everyone was saying Price would beat Fury. I said he wouldn't, because I said Price has not been proven or tested. And this is another thing where people are getting such high, lofty... Frank Maloney was talking about Price fighting Klitschko. Yeah. And the guy ain't fought no one at all. It's like, you've got to understand, like, it's not that easy. You've got to develop, but you just can't give. It's funny. You've got two sides. You either give too much or you give too little. You need to be in the middle.
Yeah, it's hard. You're talking... I think we've got to look at it from a bigger, wider view. We're not just talking about fights, we're talking about TV deals. We're talking about them getting the money to fight these fights. When people mention a Klitschko, they're not mentioning a Klitschko because they can win. They don't mention a Klitschko because it's a guaranteed £1 million purse for you. You're guaranteed to probably walk around with $1 million, which you never get in any other fight. That's why every single fighter out there names a Klitschko. It's the same why every single fighter names a Mayweather. 99% of these fighters that name Mayweather really don't think they can beat him. But they name him because you know what? It's a great payday. And that's what boxing's become at the moment. You're scared. People are not fighting for world titles anymore, they're fighting for paydays. And it's a shame, but that's what's boxing come.
You know, I want to say one point before we go, was if you look back in the mid-90s, we had this whole British and American middleweight, super middleweight thing. We had Ben, we had Eubanks, we had Collins, we had Roy Jones, we had
James Toney in America.
Hopkins was still fresh. We had
Aaron Barkley, Michael
Nunn. Yeah. If you look at all those guys together and you look how much they fought each other across Atlantic, very, very few. We missed out on a lot of great fights. All these guys held major world titles at some time or another within 18 months of each other. And it was the British fought the British, the American fought the American. Ben went over and beat up Aaron Barkley in a round or 90 seconds. But you know,
he absolutely destroyed him.
You look at the history of boxing, and we've lost so many great fights. I mean, I think that the era of the 70s and 80s where everyone fought everyone, the best fought the best constantly, is now a lost art in boxing.
What I think it's strange because growing up, we all kind of witnessed the Don King era, I like to call it, where everyone and his dog sued Don King, but he gave us the fights. You almost would prefer this one powerful promoter. We've got so many promoters now that don't want to put their, if you like, their cash cow against another person's cash cow, because then that's it, they're done. Maloney, for example, has one fighter, and that was Price, which is why every time he loses, he has a heart attack. Barry McGuigan, what we saw he's done with Carl Frampton. He has one fighter, so he's trying to get the best money he can get for it. I mean, look, Frank Warren probably only got now Derek Chisora. Yeah. People are going to be scared of putting their marquee names in against guys that they think they can lose to. Why would you can't blame them?
Another thing is, if you only got 1 or 2 fighters and you've got a lot of fighters, why would you give them more options on your fight, which means you're going to lose revenue and possibly lose control of that fight long term?
Exactly.
I mean, Duncan was the worst for asking for 3 fight options on certain fighters back in the 80s and 90s.
You can't blame him.
But look what he done with it. He made the fights.
He made the fights.
No one complained if the fights. No one complained if you took the options and made the fights.
Yeah,
but you took the options and you set them up.
We like the rematch clauses. No one can say that no one liked the rematch clause with Evander Holyfield and Tyson. We like those fights. We like rematch clauses in fights. But right now, it's almost like promoters are scared of putting their best fighters in, so that's why fighters are protected. I don't blame the fighters. I don't blame Nathan Cleverly for saying he's the best fighter he is, because he probably thinks he is. Others think otherwise, which is why they haven't put him in against anyone. They put him in against someone, and we saw what happened.
And we started on Cleverly, let's end on Cleverly.
Where does he go?
Where does he go? To be fair,
I think he goes.
A very tough guy.
I think he goes to an accountancy firm, Merrill Lynch, and he's got a master's degree. He'll make good money, and he'll say he was a world champion when he was younger.
I think that'd be a nice end of the story. But fighters got that thing in their blood. He wouldn't want to go on a loss.
He thinks he goes to 168. No chance.
He's quite tall.
He's massive at 160. He's got broad shoulders as well. He can't. He was at 168 when he was like 18.
I think he should stick with the format of his career. Fight mid-level range fighters, get a win under his belt, and call it a day. But I think it's been proven if he was to stay at 175 with the likes of my boy Bernard Hopkins, Stevenson, Cloud, Pascal, and Dawson, and the likes of Andre Ward coming up soon.
Tony Bellews a good fight for him.
Even who else is coming? Carfresh must be coming up shortly.
I don't know Carfresh.
I think he possibly.
Lucien Boutte would definitely stand.
Or Boutte. I mean, I'll make Cleverly an underdog in all those fights.
You know, I'm going to stick up for Cleverly, and this one I'm going to stick up for. It's a loss. It was one loss. Yes, it was a beating. But he fought, arguably, and we'll get to this another time in another subject, one of the most pound for pound harder hitters. That's what everyone's saying. Everyone's saying this guy can bang. It's not a joke. He's been banging since amateur. That's wrong, sorry. He's been knocking people out since amateur, and he's been knocking people out in the pros. This is not a joke. Arguably, he could have done it to a lot of other guys. I think sometimes you get carried away in your own hype, especially where he is now in Wales. He's the king of Wales behind Calzaghe. His dad trains him. And that's it. He's stuck down now. I think this guy needs to get out of there. He came to America recently, sparred in Freddie Roach's gym. Do that again. Just get away from Wales where you're the king. Get out where you're a small fish in a big pond. Right now, he's a big pond. So he's a big fish in a tiny pond. And I think that's his problem. I think he needs to get out to America and get some good sparring. I think he can come again. The only good thing about him, he's 25.
Yeah.
He's 25. When Ryan just named all those guys just now in the light heavyweight division, a lot of them are in their 30s. Hopkins is about 80. There's a lot, so I think there's a lot of room for him to move. He's probably the youngest out of all of them, I think. I think he probably is the youngest out of all of them by a few years as well, but maybe about 5 or 6 years. So I think he's got a chance. Anyway, what do you guys think? Leave your comments in the box below. And email us at
www.boxtalk.co.uk.
Thank you guys, and thanks for another watching video at BoxTalk. I'm Ade, that's...
Let's get an email back again.
Yeah, what's the email?
www.
So he does it again. Email at
hotmail.co.uk.
Guys, thanks for tuning in.